Alright, so I didn't video this, but I went ahead and knocked all the rust off with my bench grinder wire wheel, cleaned that all up, and as soon as I can find my one that goes into my drill, I'm going to clean up the inside of that as well and get any rust out of that inside groove, any of this dirt and crap out of there. And if I can't find it, off to Harbor Freight. Before I put that bearing in, I want that all cleaned up nice. So yeah, so that will be next, is finding that part or that tool. Well, couldn't find my end, so I made a quick trip to Harbor Freight, picked me up a non-abrasive wheel or nylon abrasive wheel. I picked up a sorted pack, and I picked me up another cone one, and it has done a really nice job cleaning all that rust and crap up out of there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start the bearing, get it lined up and start it pushing it back in while it's off the car, and then I'm going to go ahead and bolt the hub back onto the car. This way the car will be helping me with the leverage. Should have done that to take the thing out, but it was moving. It just was moving slowly. It really wasn't that bad, but putting it back in, I want to make sure I have all the leverage I can get. So that's what we're going to do now. This is the driver's side. We'll do the passenger side later, but we're going to get this all ready to go back, and I'm going to get the bearing out and get it set up and started. Alright, so that is the part number of the wheel hub I bought right there. Or wheel hub bearing, I should say. That's the bearing. So we are going to put it in now. And these are greaseless, so they're already prepped. You don't have to do anything to them. So I'm going to get it lined up and get it started, and then we'll put the hub back onto the car. Alright, to make sure that I get that nice and centered, I put the top of the cup onto the flange. That way it's sitting completely flat, and this ring is tight so it doesn't move around a lot. So that means we'll get a nice even pull. Once I get a few turns on that and it gets into the hub, I will go ahead and back that out and put the spacer in so I can suck it all the way in. But that's the way I'm going to do it. But I've got it started now. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the car. Then I can use the car for leverage. Alright, so like I said, if you don't have a buddy to help you, or a vise or a way to clamp the hub down while you're doing this, this is a great way to do it. The bolts I don't already have the studs on the end of that. That's only a couple of threads on, and I have that one on as well. Now it doesn't move around, and I can go ahead and turn on that. So I'm going to do a few turns until I can get that bearing to start. Then I'm going to back that off and put that spacer in here. And the other nice thing about doing it this way, you can put your wrench there and you can use the frame to brace it, so you don't have to hang on to it while you're turning this. And it goes pretty smooth. I mean, it's already moving in. If I can keep that on there. Okay. I know that it's in now. So it is definitely moved. So I don't know if you can see. So I'm gonna go ahead and back this off and put the cup on, and then tighten it in. All right, so apparently that is the number 17 for this particular tool. I'm using the number 10 flat on that side. I've got it as pretty much as centered as I can, and you can see that the threads are way down in there. So we're gonna go ahead and see how hard this is. See if I can do it with one hand. Oh yeah, this is a lot easier. I cleaned up the inside of that barrel. I did put some spray lubricant on between this nut and this. It was Prolong at one point, so, but just gives it a little less friction through there so that it doesn't bind up. But yeah, it's totally going in easy now. All right, I don't think you're going to want to watch me do that, so we'll cut to finishing it. Well, it's starting to tighten up. So using the hole for the anti-lock brake sensor, I can still feel actually, yep, I can still feel a part of the bearing, so it hasn't completely cleared. It is definitely getting tighter, but it's supposed to, because it's a press fit. Ooh. I think we bottomed out, so I have to back everything off and check to see if we have enough room to put the keeper back in. I cleaned it up with my wire wheel just to make sure that it was clean, no burrs, no rust buildup. I will spray it down with some penetrating oil, whatever you want, anything to help keep the rust out of it. And then you want to go back and kind of just wipe it dry, because you don't want dirt and stuff building up on it. So just enough. I usually spray the inside, that way the ring will keep most of that crap from rusting up. But I believe we are pretty close. Yeah, I think we're in. I think I'm feeling the plate on the back side, the number 10. So let me double check that and we'll see about getting the ring in. All right, so it looks like the bearing's all the way in. Let's see here. Can we get a good look? It looks like we've cleared the snap ring groove. I'm going to turn the wheel so I can get a better look at it, but I'm going to say that it's all the way in. All right, I did clean the surface here and this inside part where the hub assembly will ride. So that should be good. That turns nice and clean, so it's not stuck or anything. That's always a plus. All right. That should be right where we want it. Okay, so then the next thing would be to drop the lower, put the CV joint back in, pull the CV joint through. But like I said, first thing I'm gonna do is turn the wheel, double check everything, make sure that's the correct depth. If I have to, I can put the tool back on and give it one or two more cranks. And then we did order some new lowers, so they'll be coming in, so not too concerned about any damage we're causing, because like I said, this has already got a tour boot. I got 82,000 miles, so might as well replace them. I'm also going to do brakes. That will be a separate little series of videos just on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So let me get this turned. Let's make sure everything's flushed, and then we'll get the CV unit back in and get everything buttoned up. And we will not forget to put this C-clip in. And the reason why I say that is because in the past on other cars I actually forgot one, and I had to disassemble everything when I found the damn thing laying on the ground. So do not do that. All right, so let's see, can we make enough light? There we go, we got some light now. We can definitely see that it's all the way in. Let's see if I have a little screwdriver here. That's the groove, that's the edge of the bearing, and see that flat spot right there where I'm pointing? Notice it clicks in, so that means we are past the snap ring groove, so that means that it should go right in without any problems. That's what they always say. All right, so now to put the snap ring back. We will see if I can do it with the hub in. If not, since it's just sitting here, I can just pull it out. It might be easier to do it when it's on the ground. If you already have it apart, do the easiest route. Just make your life simple. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take it out, set it on the ground and put it in. This way I don't have to worry about cutting myself up again. All right, so I got the keeper ring back in. I used my large size keeper or snap ring pliers to grab it and push it together. Be careful you don't dimple yours like I did mine. I accidentally slipped when I was tapping it around the edges to make sure that it was completely seated. It didn't hurt the bearing. It's not catching or grinding, but you want to make sure you try to avoid damaging that outer. That's basically the dust seal that keeps the oil in, or grease in, so just be aware of it. Next thing we're going to do is grab the brand new CV shaft and get it slid up in there so we're all golden, and so that's next. Well, that went in surprisingly easy. I'm pretty sure it's seated. Yep, it did. I can feel. It's hard to see, but yeah, there is no space between my finger and the back of the CV, so that is sitting in there perfectly. So next thing we're going to do is put the hub back in, and then we'll go ahead and get that all set up. And then like I said, we're going to swap out the lower control arm when they come, so nothing's going to get bolted down except for the upper and the hat and the tie rod. So let me pop that on there. All right, so that's all in. I got the two upper bolts in. They're not tight. I got the tie rod in, so I'm going to go ahead and put the wheel sensor back in, and then we are going to leave this side, and we'll put that on there for now, and that will stay like that until we're ready to put the hub in. Like I said, I'm leaving this lower loose, so it's just basically there to help support the front end when I'm working on different things. Like I said, this is going to come out. I do have to take my crossbar out in order to drop that, but that comes out. I'll take both of them, and then that one bolt right there has to come out, and that whole arm will come out. And then when I do the alignment, I'm going to do my own alignment this time. I used to do alignments. I worked at a tire and wheel shop, so I'm comfortable doing it. I'm doing it the measurement way. I'm not going to show people how to do that. If you want to do that, you could probably find YouTube videos on how to do it. I've seen several, but it's something that you should do at your own risk. So don't listen to anybody else. Do what is safe. It's your car, your life, and probably somebody else's life if your car doesn't work properly. So always be aware of that. But I went back and I looked at my videos, and I did tighten that tie rod bolt when I did my sway bar, because I did the sway bar before I did the coilovers. So Les Schwab, when they did my alignment, they left these bolts loose, and it seems like they took out the tie rod to adjust the toe, and it doesn't look like they tightened it down. So I would say always double check the work that somebody else does. Double check your work. The other thing I noticed is there's absolutely no paint marks on any of the bolts that they've touched. I worked in a tire shop. I worked for a four-wheel drive company, and we had the mechanic mark off that he touched this bolt, and then we'd have a supervisor come back and mark off that he checked every single bolt, because we did have a vehicle leave our shop and the wheels came off, believe it or not. A brand new, it was a lot vehicle that came from a dealership. They were showing off all the cool stuff they could put on it, and it made it half a block up the road. So always double check this. And like I said, there is absolutely no paint markings on either side showing that anybody checked it or double checked it. So I'm glad it didn't happen on the track. I'm glad something didn't catastrophic happen. Could have been really bad. I mean, not only was one side loose, they were both loose, one on each side, and that could be all sorts of bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and snug these down. I'm not going to tighten them down. I'm going to leave them loose because, like I said, I'm going to do my own alignment once this thing is back on the ground. But this way I will make sure that everything is in line when I'm ready for it. All right, so those are snug but not tight, and that is snug but not tight. Also no cotter pin in it, so I'm gonna leave that loose for a second. I did get the sensor back in, so it's right there, and that is tight. So the next thing we need to do is move on to the other side and start taking everything apart on that side so we can get that bearing out and back in. All right, passenger side, pretty much the same thing. The only real big difference on this side is this intermediate bearing that is bolted to the block. So before you can pull the CV out, you will need to unbolt that. I did not buy the shaft that goes from the transmission to this bearing. I only bought the CV end. So once I get that out, I'll have to swap that bearing over. I'm going to check it to make sure it's good, but I hadn't heard any noise, so I'm not too concerned about it. But we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. We're going to take out the bottom, take out the two top, take out the tie rod, and take out the sensor, and pull this hub so we can easily get to that keeper ring. All right, same drill. You're going to get rid of the old cotter pin, throw that over there. That one will go in the garbage. We'll replace it with a new one. And what size was this? A 17, I believe. Yep. Okay, put that like that. Hopefully I don't want this. See if I can do this one-handed. Yep, and just like that, it dropped. So that's perfect. Now I'll turn this the other way so we can do the same thing on the bottom, and then I'll just take these two top bolts out and this hub's out. All right, we're gonna hit this with a hammer pretty much in the same spot about in here. Should cause enough deflection to pop that down. But this one does take two hands because I'm left-handed, and my left hand is this one, and my right hand's holding the phone, so it's hard for me to swing backwards. About 10 good whacks is all it took. Oh yeah, I'd say that one's tore too. All right, so it was time for that one to come out anyway. All right, so all we have left are those two upper bolts, and this knuckle can come out of there. First thing I'm gonna do is straighten it back up, because it's hard to get to everything at this angle. All right, just like that, that's out of there. And you can see how dirty and dusty that is. So we're going to clean that up some, spray some penetrating oil in it, and then we will try to get that ring out. Hopefully this time it will come out much easier than the other one did. Who knows? But as we're looking down here, do we see anything else that we need to work on or replace? I don't think so. We've already done the belts and the pulleys, everything. I am going to still replace that bolt. It is on my list, and since I have everything out, it'll probably be what I do tomorrow. It's over there in the box, so I'll go ahead and replace that while I got it apart. Even with the wheel off, it's still easy to get to, but yeah, we'll get that swapped out before we start putting things back together. And then I will get those 3 bolts out of the intermediate shaft. Let's see, there you go, right there. And then we can pull this drive shaft out, take it apart, and put that part on the new drive shaft, and then we'll be ready to start putting this back together as soon as the new bearings in. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to clean that up with a wire brush this time, and then we'll spray it down with some of the penetrating lubricant to make sure that it comes out free, and we'll let that soak. Well, just hitting that keeper with the wire wheel makes it look a million times better, but we want to go ahead and make sure it comes out easy, so let's spray it. Alright, we'll let that soak, and then we'll come in there and try to get that out.